Hello, everyone. Spot of Nerd here with a brand new episode. Super duper thank you to everybody, really, supporters, listeners, viewers. If you want to listen to this, of course, we are putting a lot of these newer episodes throughout all the ways of today, specifically podcasts. You can listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. This one is going to be a longer one. I do fair warn you in a good way because there is a lot of content to talk about and very few edits, as I've said many times before, because frankly it just is easier that way, but you're also getting a little bit more realness about me, Spot of Nerd. I've got my handy dandy little tablet here, and because there's so much to talk about right now. It's crazy. It really is. And just to show you how real this is, I've got a cat here that is being an asshole. Stop. So if you're listening to this and there's weird noises in the background, it's a cat, I promise. Anyway, the big topic of discussion last Sunday, if you were ever a fan to begin with, I swear to God, I'm gonna kill you. Okay, let's go back. You have to, I swear to Christ, I will fuck you up. Stop. Stop. Now he thinks it's a game. Okay, back on track. Little fucker, I've stopped. His name is James. I love him to death, but we need to get back and focus in on this new episode because, again, there's so much to talk about, specifically in the streaming TV, movies, etc. For those that have watched from the beginning, last Sunday was the series finale of The Walking Dead, and let's be very honest, that show died years ago, probably around season 5 or 6. When they kind of brought Negan into it, I really do feel that is where the show fell apart. The comic books is where you really will find a lot of the true epicness that The Walking Dead is, but you can look back on Spot of Nerd with the YouTube channel and everything in between. The Walking Dead was, to me, just an incredible show. It really, overall, was something amazing. Norman Reedus, I think that's his name, the guy that plays Daryl, Andy Grimes, Rick Grimes, and Shane, who of course turned out to be the Punisher later on in different Marvel series. There's just so much incredible storytelling with The Walking Dead. Again, it is all based off of a comic book graphic novel that, to this day, if you want to read something and visually see some of the greatest comic book writing that has ever existed, I highly, highly encourage you to go and actually read the comic books, the graphic novel, The Walking Dead, because I do believe you will get far more out of that than you will the actual show. But, it definitely was getting to that point of silliness near the end, and I think that's where it kind of died, and I'm really glad they actually cut it. There is going to be a Walking Dead universe. There's like a spin-off series where Negan and Maggie will go to New York. Daryl will go to Paris somehow. That's a little far-fetched if you ask me. The most important, though, that we're going to get in terms of spin-offs that we have all been waiting for, again, going back to where really the show did kind of die, was when they sort of kind of killed off Rick Grimes, which turns out he didn't die because he got captured by like these elite group of survivors. It's a very long story. If you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. But the long story short of it, I think that's where the series finale kind of regrouped us in terms of the fans, in terms of getting us excited again, was because, you know, he obviously is in the series finale. Andrew Lincoln is his name, but of course he plays Rick Grimes. Sorry, I'm getting the names confused. But and it was a beautiful piece. It was an absolutely beautiful little 4 or 5 minute segment that I might actually even just put at the end of this, because it really was. It went back to the roots of what The Walking Dead was, what it is, because like I said, it went downhill once they took him off, but it really kind of regrouped once they brought a lot more of the basics in. It's a little convoluted, but what I'm trying to get at is, there's so much that they put into this show that I think a lot of it kind of fell apart. For example, they started giving you variants of zombies where they could start climbing walls, and it's just silly at that point because they don't climb walls. Zombies do not climb walls. It's ridiculous. But there would even be some points where, there would be a horde of zombies that all of a sudden now you can fight off this horde of zombies where before you would just be eaten alive. It's little things like that that kind of ruined the show. But again, kind of when you got back to, they actually changed producers. I have no idea the names, but they went from like this one dude to this one gal, and I really do think she actually kind of revitalized the show in a way. But I think what really the ultimate demise of it was, I think they just incorporated too much. They took the comic book. There's a part in the comic book where they go and they find this city where there are tens of thousands of survivors. And I think that's where, from a television standpoint, they didn't have the budget. They didn't really have a great story arc for any of these characters. So it was hard to kind of, I think, especially once you get into season 7 and season 8 and season 9, they made it 11 seasons. There's only so much you can do at that point. But I really think they concluded the series overall in a good way. They didn't kill off who they needed to kill off. They kept alive who they needed to keep alive. There were definitely some heartfelt moments in the series finale, of course, with, what's her face? Oh my God, Rosita. The gal who, if you've watched Netflix, is Selena. I think was one of the best series ever on Netflix. A lot of people think differently, but I thought that was a very well made series. Whether it's factual or not, who knows? But if you're looking for a good Selena biography, go watch that on Netflix. But like I've said, just I think bringing back Andrew Lincoln to play Rick Grimes, to give us a prologue, something to be kind of that early story of what the next chapter will be, because of course Michonne is now, we found out seasons ago she went off to try to find Rick, and we're now going to finally get that story, that completed story of what happened to Rick, how Michonne is going to find Rick, and of course their story ending, the love story. They hopefully will come back together, and I really do hope they bring back the kind of like, they'll take Rick back to Alexandria so he can see his kids again, Judith and the other boy, which I've totally forgotten his name, but I really want to see that. So I hope if anybody at AMC is listening or watching, give us that, give us a positive outcome to where I would even love to see a Daryl and Rick getting back together, and that bromance that's always been there. If you've ever watched the show, you know that there's always been a bromance with Rick and Daryl. So please give us that. Why you're sending Daryl to Paris, I don't know, but you better make it good, because in the zombie apocalypse, how the hell are you traveling different continents? I don't know, it's just not really done. And quite frankly, there's a reason why, because it's silly, to be frank. So again, finally, I will just say, if you want to watch something special, I'll put it at the end of this episode. But that last little segment where they're kind of finishing up the series, The Walking Dead, was just beautifully done. And even if you're not a fan, or if you never even heard of The Walking Dead, I think you can see why just in this 4-minute clip, because it really explains the story, the characters, and the fact that The Walking Dead isn't necessarily the zombies. It's actually the people. So it's a beautiful thing. In other positive reviewing-esqueness, if you want to watch something that's been really great on Netflix right now, is Wednesday. It is a story based off of Wednesday, the character in the Family Addams series. And Tim Burton writes it, produces it. Can't go wrong there. Tim Burton, of course, has done many, many epic series and films. Edward Scissorhands. Anything with Johnny Depp, pretty much Tim Burton has been a part of. So yeah, you can kind of go with that. But yeah, it was surprising, because when you first see the trailer for it, you get a little bit of a, why on earth would you even make this series? But it's very well done. It's an original story. It's definitely not a reboot. They're not trying to tap too much into the Addams Family show, the genre. They're making this series, it's kind of its own, and it's really well done. It's visually great, great story writing. You know me, there's not a lot of politic woke bullshit in there, which is quite amazing, to be honest, especially a show like this. And the reason I say like this is because, without getting into trouble, you would just think they would incorporate a lot more of that in it, but they kept it to itself. And I think that's why it will be successful, is because they've left the politics out. They've left the agendas out, and they've just left it to its origin story of, you have this Family Addams character, not Family Addams, you have this Addams Family character, Wednesday, and the gal who actually plays the character, she's been in other series. If you've ever watched Netflix's You, she was in that as well. She's been in some other stuff too, so look her up. I, again, couldn't tell you the name to save my life, but she's really great actress, and I think she nails this character. There's some other cameos you'll see on the show, original Addams Family members, but they're also played with some pretty incredible celebrity cameos. Even Christina Ricci, who was the original Wednesday in the Addams Family film, is in this show. And it's really cool, the character she plays, because it's tied beautifully together in a nice little bow. So if you are looking for something that's quite enjoyable to watch, check out Wednesday. It's on Netflix right now. I'm only about halfway through, but again, so far I've had no complaints. You'll want to have to pay attention to it. It's definitely something you will want to put your devices down, but in all the best way possible, so check that out. Now, other stuff, you have to bear with me. Again, I wrote all this down because there's a lot. Dead to Me just finished up its entire series as well. It's I've mentioned this briefly before, but it's got Christina Applegate in there, Married with Children. I finally finished up the actual series itself, and again, just a very well done show. There is some agendas and politics in there, but not enough to ruin the show, if that makes sense. So if you are looking for something funny to watch based around murder and mystery, the way I kind of best put it, I don't know if I've said this before, but it's similar to like a Breaking Bad, but almost like a parody of Breaking Bad. So there's a lot more jokes, and basically a lot of the word fuck is everywhere, and it's absolutely placed beautifully. This is why I give credit to the show. So I think it was done overall pretty good. I think it's one of those, COVID ruined a lot of these shows, because, you had the first season, you had the second season, COVID goes, and then you don't actually get a third season until years later. So I think that's what ultimately kind of maybe, I wouldn't say it ruined this show, but it definitely I think, finalized it. I think they could have probably had a few more seasons, but Netflix decided to close it out with season three. Similar side tangent, but if you look at Carnival Row with Orlando Bloom, it's on Amazon Prime. Amazing show, absolutely amazing show. I just found out through a teaser actually that they're only going to be doing one more season, so the show will finalize in the second season. And it's a bummer because if you look at the writer's notes, you look at these articles as to why are they finishing up the series already, is because of budgets and COVID and other things that these actors and actresses have to do. So I hope they conclude it very well, but at the same time, I really wish they would have kind of kept going with it because it is a show you could have easily had multiple seasons with. But again, we'll just have to see how it all turns out. You know what I mean? So check out Dead to Me on Netflix if you are looking for something funny. Definitely not for the kiddies. Lots of violence and anger and stuff, but in a parody kind of way, if that makes sense. Let's see. What else did I have written down? Ooh, on Disney Plus right now. Pretty good in respects to if you liked the old Santa Claus films with Tim Allen. Disney has just released the Santa Clauses, and apparently it's a 6-episode series. I don't know if they'll do more than this, but the first 3 episodes have just come out on Disney Plus, and it's pretty good. This is not going to win any Emmys. It's definitely something you can keep on the background. But if you did enjoy the Santa Claus films with Tim Allen, they did 3 of them. The first was amazing. The second was terrible. Just the whole cloning thing was weird. But I did actually really enjoy the third film when they brought Steve Martin. Not Steve Martin. Was it Steve Martin? Basically the guy that played Jack Frost. It was really cute, Christmassy, if you really want the Christmassy vibes, especially we're in that kind of season coming up December. The show really is picking up where it left off. It's telling the story of Santa Claus retiring and who he's going to find as a replacement. But so far it's pretty good. It definitely is more centered for the kiddies. But, if you, like I said, I grew up with the Santa Claus, so I have to watch it. I really do. It's kind of these things. It's like car wrecks. I've said this before, that cliche. You can't look away. You gotta watch it because it's Tim Allen. It's the Santa Claus. Blah 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 blah. So definitely check that out though if you are looking for a newer holiday type show thing. Let's see. If you're listening, again, I'm looking at my notes right now. I've said this, we'll go into a lot more down the road because we're actually almost finishing up with the first season, The Peripheral. I'm not going to talk too much about it right now. I will devote an entire episode to The Peripheral. It's on Amazon Prime right now. First season, new project, based off the writers that made Westworld. Unbelievable. We will have the first season finale, I think tomorrow actually. So yeah, I'll watch that and then we'll do a full review on it. But I tell you what, if you want to watch something incredible, future type show, time travel type show, futuristic, unbelievable show, The Peripheral, right now, Amazon Prime, you should definitely be watching. Because dear God, if you're watching the Lord of the Rings show, you are wasting your life. Sweet mother of God, go watch my episode, listen to it, etc. The Lord of the Rings show was a pile. I don't even know what worse than ass is. If you had ass, below ass, below ass, whatever below that ass is, doesn't even come close to the level of ass that Lord of the Rings show was. So, you've been warned. What else did I write down? Dun 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 dun. Titans. Great DC show. Not really vibing currently on the new season 4 right now. This whole Bloody Mary type god chick person. It's still a good show. But I will be very honest, DC Titans, you've done better. And we're only 3 or 4 episodes in, so I hope this is just building towards something great. Because you obviously gave us a little, it was that cliche, the fishing line. You lured us in with Superman and Lex Luthor, but that first or second episode, you detoured in 180 degrees towards something that, quite frankly, I'm not really understanding right now. So I'm hoping the show will actually, this season will get better. Titans is an amazing show from DC, live action Titans. So if you do enjoy those characters, you will love this show. But I'm hoping this season 4 does get better. Something we'll talk about a little bit more again down the road, because I think it's worthy of its own episode, I believe. So for now, I encourage you to watch Titans if you haven't, or if you are watching this current season. As I've always said, let me know in the comments, what do you think? Are you enjoying it so far? Do you understand it? Do you have any idea what the hell is going on? Or do you kind of maybe agree with me and think they could be doing better? Because I do genuinely believe, yeah, Titans, you can do better than this. You're kind of failing miserably right now. So we'll just leave it at that. Speaking of other, I guess, darker shows, I'm saying this a lot, but I promise, because there's so much to talk about with these shows. But one as well that just finished up its first season, Andor, Star Wars, Disney Plus, just finished up its first season yesterday or a couple days ago, depending on whenever you watch this. And I've said this many times, and I will say it many times in the future. Andor is honestly one of the best shows I have ever seen in my life. Take the Star Wars out of it, it could genuinely survive on its own as a standalone series. The fact that you've put Star Wars on it gives me hope that you finally have figured it out, Lucasfilm, Disney, that you can actually produce amazing Star Wars shows without giving us woke agenda bullshit. Keep that up. I promise you, as a fan, diehard fan, we will keep watching when you keep giving us shows like this. Visually stunning, writing is amazing. The characters, the guy who plays Andor, don't have a clue what his name is, but completely epic character. Portrays, if you enjoyed the Rogue One movie, you will adore this show, and you will probably find it better than the movie, because I really think it is nailing every aspect of what makes a great television series. So keep that up, Disney. We'll dedicate a whole show to it another time in the future, but so stay tuned for that. But if you are looking for the best Star Wars show ever, go check out Andor right now, because you will not be disappointed at all. And Andor, The Walking Dead. Okay, I wanted to leave this till the last part of this episode, and we'll wrap it up, because sometimes I know I can ramble on these things, or I might just be a broken record depending on what we're talking about. So I want to talk a little bit non-streaming, but I guess it's streaming. The World Cup. Let's just talk a little bit about the World Cup that is currently going on in Qatar 2022. Yes, I want to talk a little bit on the political side. At the same time, I want to talk about my boys, the England national team, their first game, destroying Iran 6-2. That in the tournament aspect, in the competitive aspect, I am sincerely excited, because I have not seen an English team like this in my whole life. I really haven't. And I'm super excited, because I hope that lasts. Tomorrow, Friday the 25th, if you are watching this another time, we will be playing the US of A. And I do want to win, of course, because that will enable us to potentially just move on right to the next round. But, I also support the US team, because it's the US team. So I do want them to do well as well. But England and the USA haven't played together for probably over a decade now. And there hasn't been a lot of goal scoring in those games. So honestly, tomorrow it's up in the air. We won't know until tomorrow happens. But I'm super excited to see England, hopefully, as they say, bring it home. You've probably heard that song. Maybe I'll play it over in the background of this episode, but you know, It's Coming Home is the song of the English national football team because, dear God, we have not won a World Cup in over 50 years, and it's about fucking time that we do. We have come so close on so many levels, but, you know, maybe this first game hopefully will show us that we can finally do it this time. So, reversing gears, I want to talk a little bit more on the political side of it because I'm going to go against the grain on this, and maybe we'll talk about this more in a future episode. But, you know, what I want to get across, and this is just, again, just my viewpoint, my opinion, I am fully aware of the shit that goes down over there. You know, you look at the facts of not only is this the most expensive World Cup, you know, you're putting it in a place that is horrible. And what I mean by that is, you know, you look at the statistics now that over 6,000 people were killed building these stadiums and building the complexes around it to basically house the fans that are coming to watch these games. You know, you look at the social, political aspects of it where, you know, if you are gay or homosexual, you can be murdered in these countries, you know. But what I want to get at is, sometimes I think it gets a little bit, I have to be careful if you're listening, if you're watching, you know, I've always got to be careful what I say in this. I am not advocating for any of this culture or what is occurring there currently. But what I am trying to get across is I hate this. You know, I'm stalling because it's just, there's, you know, when you want to say something, but you got to make sure you say it in the right way. The whole issue about people voicing their opinions on how these people are terrible and they kill homosexuals and this and that and that and this, and we're going to wear an armband to promote equality and inclusion and diversity, and yet you bowed out in the last minute before the game because you didn't want to be kicked off, and you actually also showed up to play this tournament. You really need to kind of pull back and, to be frank, kind of shut up, because you only care about the money. If you're kind of getting where I'm going with this, because I'm not giving you a lot of details, but I'm hoping you can catch on to what I'm talking about. You know, these teams still are showing up. They're still playing the game. They've bowed out of their supposed boycott. They've bowed out of other things because the bottom line is, it's all about the money, and it's all about the FIFA control they have over these teams and the players. So you can go out and say, you know, shame on Qatar, shame on the Iranian people, shame, 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 shame. You can shame the life out of these people all you want. But the bottom line is, you're still supporting your teams. These teams are still going to play the tournament. You allowed the tournament to be held in Qatar. That is what I think my biggest, I will go the opposite direction of most today, is you cannot you cannot bash a culture when you actually agreed to allow them to hold the tournament. And I think that is the biggest piece and the most important piece of all of this is, again, I'm not saying that what they do in their culture is right or is okay. But what I am saying is that you are allowing this tournament to happen in that location. You have an entire world where you could hold this World Cup. You genuinely could have an entire world where you could hold this, even in the United States, which apparently didn't have a high enough bill or bid or whatever they want to call it, where you could have promoted every last piece of agenda and political aspect you wanted. But you didn't, because the highest bidder won. And the highest bidder happened to be Qatar. So you can't really bitch and complain when you're actually supporting this, believe it or not. Buying the tickets to the games, buying the tickets on the airlines to go to these countries, buying the tickets to buy their food and stay in their hotels. Same with the teams, the players, everything in between. You can't knock their culture when you're literally contributing to the tournament. Now, I know I'm just one person and I have that opinion that you might not like, but the bottom line is That's the fact of the matter. I do not support that culture, the whole killing people because you're gay and whatever. I mean, that's horrible. It's terrible. The killing of they literally had slaves build these stadiums. It is fucking horrible. So my point is when are you going to wake up to the fact that they have slaves in 2022? But yet you don't blink an eye when you go to sleep at night. You don't lose an ounce of sleep just going to bed at night. It's just sometimes I say this not intended the way it should, but I say it kind of laughable. It is at sometimes when I hear about these things, because you continue to promote these things in these countries that are that reflect the complete opposite of what America stands for, but yet you still send your team there to play. Your players still play because it's all about the money. It's all about the paycheck. So I do genuinely hope the future things will change, specifically with soccer and specifically with FIFA. I really do. We will continue this conversation much more in the future, especially as the tournament goes on and I keep giving you more of these episodes. But I really think sometimes you can't judge a book by its cover without reading the book, if you get my drift. So I will just leave it at that. I hope England does amazing against the USA. I hope we get to that final and I hope we win. But I think right now what's really important is we need to all show up and we need to destroy those teams that need to be destroyed in a competitive soccer way, not on another violent way, but you know where I'm going with that. So keep that up. If you're not watching, you should be watching, because I really do think it kind of brings nations together. I really do. I think the World Cup is an amazing time where people unite behind their team and they all have the ultimate goal of winning. So let that be England. Please, God, please let that happen. I would love you forever and ever and ever. But anyway, thank you all. We're going to wrap up this episode. Thank you all so much for listening. If you're listening on podcast right now, for watching on YouTube, if you are, quickly, Alex, I super appreciate your feedback. I'm looking into when I do YouTube videos like this one as well. He was mentioning there's segments in some videos, and I've seen it too on YouTube where you can kind of segment out the video. It might not happen on this one, but I am definitely looking into it. I think you have to have a certain number of subscribers, but we will eventually do that on Spot of Nerds. So stay tuned for that. But I appreciate the feedback because I love that type of stuff. It's helping me grow this channel. It's helping me expand the skills and the talent that hopefully I can keep bringing you amazing, epic content like this. So thank you so much to everybody that's listens and watches and contributes, comments. Please, as you know, go ahead, hit that subscribe button right down below. Give me the likes, comment, share me, listen to me, whatever you do in the world of this to get the message out. I super duper appreciate everybody that helps out, and sending all my love and support to you all. So with that said, we will see you guys next time. Later, y'all. Real quick, here's your end credit scene. On Hulu right now, if you want to watch something from the past, especially if you were a 90s kid, all of the Saved by the Bell shows are currently on Hulu. You have the original Saved by the Bell, The College Years. Remember when they went to Hawaii? And you cannot forget the Zach and Kelly wedding that was in Vegas. I'm actually rewatching some of these shows, especially The College Years. I actually really enjoyed The College Years. These shows are so bad, but they are so fucking good. So if you really do want to kind of have a little bit of a blast from the past, definitely go back and watch some of these Saved by the Bell shows because they are fucking awesome. And God, it makes me miss the 90s. I miss the 90s so bad. People had brains, could communicate with each other, people respected one another to a level. I know I'm not an idiot, but the bottom line is the 90s was such a great time than what it is right now. God, if I had a time machine. I'll leave it at that.
I think of the dead all the time. And about the living, who I lost.
I tried to get to you and your brother again and again. It's too far for the radio now, I know that. But I still got you, and you got me. We're connected. We're still connected.
I think about them all every day.
Everybody we ever loved.
Their faces. What I learned from them. How they made me who I am. So much more than all this made me who I am.
We'll always be together, even when we're apart. We, together, are the strongest thing. We're love, and love is endless. So we, those gone,
all of our lives,
those away,
become in one life.
We are endless.
We're together. Pieces of a whole that just keep going for what we gave each other. One unstoppable life. You showed me that. You gave me that.
I know you're back there. I know your brother is back there, just as sure as I know he's out there. Somewhere. Not just as a part of us. He's alive out there. I will find him. Because I know he's trying to find us.
No.
Consignee Grimes, you've been located and are instructed to surrender. Remain in place with your hands up. Come on, Nick. It's like he told you. There's no escape for the living.
Remember what I said. It's what he said. Hold it to your heart. It's true. Forever.
We are the ones who live.
We're 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 the ones who live.
We are the ones who live. We're the ones who live. We're the ones who live. We're the ones who live.
We're the ones who live.
We're the ones who live.
get to start over. We're the ones who live.